All right, well, I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's session. My name is Philip Davis, and I'll be telling you about competency models and how some of the research that we've been doing to develop competency models for an IT field, which is geospatial technology, and I think it's a pretty innovative methodology, and we'd like to share it with y'all today. So today we're going to talk about aligning curriculum to national industry standards using the Department of Labor competency model. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and my center first. I'm one of about 40 National Science Foundation, what they call Advanced Technological Education, or ATE centers. Our center was started in 2008, and our purpose is to help two-year community colleges in America perfect geospatial education. So really, our primary audience are the 650 or so two-year community college programs in America that have a GIS program. Now, this is relevant in IT. I know today's overall conference is on IT because GIS is basically an IT field. When you get right down to it, geographical information systems is the marriage of graphics and database. Primarily, it's a software industry, though. So if you look over here at the graphic, you see the partners that I've got spread across. We are a virtual organization. I'm housed at Delmar College, which is in Corpus Christi, Texas, along the Gulf Coast. I have partners at 8 colleges and 2 universities, including Penn State and San Diego State University. And so we're really spread across in terms of geographic area. We have a website, which I'll be referring to. And if we have time later on today, I would like to go and show you some of this stuff live. We have internet on the PC, so we can do that. But in the sake of time, I just went ahead and did screenshots of it. So that's our website if you want to find any of our information that you'll see today. These are some of my team members. These are some of the people that have helped us develop this curriculum that you're going to see this afternoon. These are all full-time GIS faculty at two-year community colleges. So basically with my center, with my funds, I'm able to buy out a part of their time to help do perform the research. So the goals for today is to define competencies and competency modeling, explore the Department of Labor competency model process, which we think is one that is exemplary, should be used by other fields. Define an industry competency model, and then how to refine the competency model into more details, if you will. How to build a model certificate program based upon that. How to develop model course packs, which we're in the process of doing right now. How to create competency assessment tools, which is a real critical part that we found is missing from most programs. Then how to build a distribution server to disseminate our products, and finally, work with professional organizations to try to implement the competency model. So I think what you see is we've got a very comprehensive program. What we're trying to accomplish here is not just for academics, we're trying to have an impact upon professionals, because as you know, we want our students to compete with four-year school graduates in terms of the job market and to be able to get that. So today we're going to look at how to take a generic model, which is the Department of Labor's competency model, how to create a specific industry model, and then refine that with a process called a DACM. Are y'all familiar with that term, developing a curriculum? Again, I'll give you examples of this, particularly how that works, and then how you can take the DACM model plus the industry model and create model certificates from that. And so what we're trying to do is take a very high-level national standard, refine that down to the regional level, and then actually apply that to local programs. So, what is a competency? Well, they're behaviors that encompass knowledge, skills, attributes required for successful performance to enable a person to deliver superior performance in a given job role or situation. And so what we're talking about here really are essentially preparing professionals for an industry. That's what our goal is. Competency model is the activity to determine specific competencies that are characteristics of high performance and success in a job. And those are hard to meet. And if you can honestly and truthfully say that your curriculum is meeting industry competencies, then you've got alignment. And that's really what today's discussion is about, is trying to align academic curriculum and industry competency needs, what the industry is telling us that we need. Not what we as academics or teachers think our students should be learning, but what industry is telling us that they need. So the competency logic model, if you will, starts on the left there with conceptualizing a project and goes all the way over to developing an application. And so that's essentially what we've done in the past 3 years. Is we're at this point right now. We built the model, we started with the conceptualization, and we're actually developing the applications at this point. It's not a complete process. Round one for us will end actually August 12th. We've got currently 5 out of what we think are going to be 8 courses developed and ready to deliver, but we still have work to be done. And then if we're funded again later in 2012, then we'll go for version 2 and refine this model a little bit. So first, the next thing I think we need to do is define what the Department of Labor competency model. How many of you know that the Department of Labor even has a competency model? How many were aware of that? There's 19 industries out there. They've been doing this for a decade or so. This is the Employment and Trade Administration, the ETA portion of Department of Labor, which of course is a huge federal agency. And they've got competency models out there for industries that have cooperated with the DOL, have used their facilitation and gone through it. Geospatial is, I think, the latest of those models. This is what the competency model rubric looks like, if you will, for the Department of Labor. This is a simplified model here, but basically they have 7 to 9 tiers in them, and they all are standard in the sense that they have foundational tiers, if you will, each called a tier, industry-related tiers, and then occupation-related. And if you're familiar with the Department of Labor's standard occupation codes, the SOCs, that's what these refer to up here, and those are very specific. So what we've tried to do is work with the Department of Labor model to define up through tier 5. And currently what we're doing is helping define tiers 6, 7 for the specific occupations in the Department of Labor. Again, this is sort of a generic Department of Labor model, and it's a little bit, I know it's difficult for y'all to see, but at the bottom of that is professional effectiveness competencies, academic competencies, workplace competencies, and then there would be industry-wide technical competencies and industry sector technical competencies. All 19 of these industries that are defined, and they range from nanotechnology, biotechnology, water, management, information technology is one of them. Actually, there's a separate one for IT, and now geospatial technology. They all have the same 5 levels at the beginning, and they are all similar in the first 3 levels. That is, our students coming in should have personal effectiveness, right? The ability to get up and give communication, oral communication, written communication. These are things that they would learn in their general ed courses or just in life, if you will. Promptness, reliability, honesty. So the Department of Labor really looks at this model, and the reason I like it, and the reason we like it at GeoTech, is it looks at the entire person, the entire worker. Because when you hire somebody, it's just like marrying someone in a way, right? You're buying the entire package. You're not just getting part of it. So as an employer, you're really concerned that they have all these competencies. And so that's what the competency model tries to define. The industry-wide, this is layer 4, or level tier 4 and tier 5. Tier 4 defines an industry-wide competencies. These are things that experts in the industry think people should understand regardless of what sector they're in. So for IT, you might want to define IT up into application, software, operating system, software, virtualization, however you want to divide the IT industry up into sectors. There are some knowledge, skills, and abilities that anybody that hangs their shingle out as an IT expert, whether it be a technician or a scientist, they should have these knowledge, skills, and abilities, right? So those are industry-wide. Then you divide into sectors, and so now you're starting to specialize. And as you go further up the scale, you're getting more and more specialized, if you will. And the one thing about the DOL, Department of Labor competency models, is they do define an entire industry, if you will, from technician level all the way up to expert scientists. So it's not just for AAS 2-year technicians. These models also, they can define all the way up to what a PhD research scientist would need to know in that field. That's how detailed they can become. For the geospatial technology industry model, which was, this was actually finalized in July of 2010. We picked up our work on it in February of 2009 is when we first approached the Department of Labor. They had a skeleton GTCM, the geospatial technology competency model. They had the skeleton started, and then it essentially stalled. They were unable to have industry consensus at level 4 and 5 because basically there was infighting. Professional organizations and sectors with that industry, whether it be the remote sensing versus the GIS desktop versus the professional surveyors, there was a lot of fighting among who owned what, and nobody would turn loose of anything And so DOL trying to complete this GTCM was just stalled. So we came along at a good time in 2009, you know, a little change in the economy, change of face, change of players, and we were able to leverage some high-level industry contacts that we had in our academic team, and to actually foster this thing through and to reach consensus. And that was the most difficult thing to do. Was that two-day workshop we held in Scottsdale back in 2010 was to create that consensus and to get tiers 4 and 5 actually defined. Once we got tiers 4 through 5, so you had the 5-tier level defined, and industry agreed to that and bought in on it through an extensive vetting period and extensive feedback from industry and professionals. Once we were able to define that, then starting to define layers 6 and 7, where we go in and do the DACMs, the development curriculum, that's quite a bit easier. So where we're at now is we've got, like I said, all 7 tiers defined for one of those sectors, which is GIS technician. So what's good about the DOL model if you're an academic? Well, it provides a federally approved approach to defining an industry, if you will, and that's valuable. If you're, it's difficult to hit a moving target, correct? And so if you're trying to develop curriculum at whatever level, the associate's, baccalaureate, master's level, if you're trying to define a curriculum that you want to articulate between different silos of education, from secondary all the way up to the university level, if you're trying to do that, you need to have something that's set, something that people can agree upon. And so in this country, the DOL represents the ultimate authority, if you will, for industry. It's widely recognized by both industry and government, relies upon industry experts to define the contents of the model, not academics, and I need to emphasize that. All the definition of those tiers that you saw have been done by subject matter experts that are basically industry practitioners. They're not academics. It allows repeatable results across industry, technology-based industry, so it doesn't matter if you're talking about water management or nanobiotechnology, this Competency model framework, if you will, can apply to any of them. It's a well-researched methodology. Like I say, it's been around at least a decade. It's gone through 19 different industries. It's vetted widely through industry and professional organizations. We do engage a lot of all the professional organizations in geospatial, from AAG to NCGE to ERISA, all the professional organizations which are equivalent to ACM or whatever you will, or IEEE in the IT industry. We engaged all of them in this entire process. We did not try to exclude anybody. We did not try to do anything private, if you will. Everything was out in the open and publicly vetted. And that's the way the DOL insisted that it be done, because they know that it would not be accepted, if you will, or adopted by industry if it wasn't done sort of in the daylight. So it allows competing sectors in an industry to reach consensus, and it can be refined with further DACM research, which is what the value that we add to it. So the competency model subject, you have a subject matter expert panel, you will, that comes up with this. Relies upon a panel of industry recognized subject matter experts. It's led by a DOL facilitator. So again, DOL sort of drives the process here. Consists of a 1 to 2 day intensive workshop where they literally sit down and do sort of a brain dump, these experts. Let's define what our industry is, where it begins, where it ends, and then the real debate begins is how are we going to divide it into sectors? Because we know not everybody can't know everything because these industries are so complex and changing so much. It results in a fairly complex set of knowledge, skills, and abilities, or KSAs. The data results are then crosswalked for redundancy and accuracy, and this process takes about 60 days. Preliminary results are publicly vetted for a 30-day period. Public comments and objectives are incorporated into the final KSA report. Then DOL officials make the final determination to accept or reject this. So we do the work, we present it to DOL, DOL vets it, says, you know, we accept or reject. The approved competency model, if it is approved, then will be published on the DOL website, which is where ours can currently be found. So how can we improve this model? So DOL provides us this competency model. They give you the tiers. They're pretty well defined up through tier 5, but when you get into 6 and 7 into the competencies, if you've gone out to, how many of you have gone out to the Department of Labor's ETA website, the Career One Stop? If you go drill down and look at the SOCs and look at the details, there's not enough there to develop even an introductory course. There's not enough details about the knowledge, skills, and abilities of what a technician would need to be do to actually create curriculum. That's the value that the work that we do doing the DACMs, I think, adds to that. So it's insufficient in scope to create complete curriculum course. Though it may be national scope, it may miss regional differences, which is what the DACMs do. So what we have done over the last 3 years is we've done a series of DACMs developing a curriculum, and these are similar to the original competency model industry panel where you bring in subject matter experts, except instead of bringing a national panel, people that are recognized across the U.S. or maybe international, now you're bringing in regional experts, people that are, you know, practitioners in the field, usually 10 years or more experience, that were at one time a technician, so they understand what a technician does, but they are more or less managers now, and you bring them into a room and you do a brain dump on them. What is it this field, this industry, or this particular occupation does? In the case, what we accomplished was GIS technician, which would be the same thing in IT as, say, an IT technician, a network admin. And we're currently doing a second one on remote sensing, which is a different sector in our industry, if you will. And so you take about 2 days to do a brain dump on them. Same process, you bring all these KSAs together, you get a DACM facilitator to go through that, statistically call out the repetition and stuff that doesn't really meet the matrix. Then you vet that, and so what we've done is we use this panel of 6 to 10 regional experts. We take their results, and then once we consolidate that into a spreadsheet, we send that back out, and we have hundreds more experts, if you will, in the field do a survey and tell us, are these KSAs, is this really what you agree as a GIS technician in your region, in your state, in your area? And we incorporate that feedback into what we think is the final DACM. Now, what we've done, and so DACM panel looks something like this. This is our, hard to see, it's John Johnson. He's a GIS instructor down in San Diego. John is also a DACM trained facilitator. He's done dozens of these DACMs over the last decade, and here he is holding a DACM, forget where this, I think this was in Denver this year. And so you can see they're going through the experts, he's recording the information down, and it results in these literally sticky notes, if you will. These are the KSAs, the knowledge, skills, and abilities. This is where the kind of the ground truthing of the DOL model, what the experts said they should know, this is where the ground truthing is done. Now, what's a little bit different about our process is we've taken this one step further. So you have the DOL competency model, which is one panel, expert, one time, vetted for 60 days. That's a model, right? Then you have a DACM, which is typically a snapshot of an occupation within a region within a particular year, and that can change over time. What we've done is we've done a third step, which is called a meta-DACM. So we've taken basically a dozen DACMs that have been developed in a specific occupation, which is GIS, that date back 10 years, including 5 that are recent within 24 months that we conducted. And we've, through meta-analysis, we've essentially boiled down what those KSAs are, those knowledge, skills, and abilities. So what I'm trying to tell you is we have refined and vetted this particular occupation, GIS technician, to the point where it's ad nauseum. We have so many knowledge, skills, and abilities that we've had to now go back through another process and try to boil out what are essential knowledge, skills, and abilities that we can actually teach in a 45 to 75-hour course. And then how would you put that into a curriculum? So that results in this thing called a meta-DACM document, and all these documents, by the way, are on our website, and you can download them in PDF or Excel and take a look at them. So we've gone through, we've explained to you about the Department of Labor's competency model, about the tiers, at least briefly. We explained about DACMs. We now explained a third process called a meta-DACM. Now that you've got all that information out there and you've published it, good for you. What good does that do me as an instructor? I'm, Joe, instructor at some community college, and I've got to teach an introductory GIS course in 6 weeks. Where's the curriculum? So having these knowledge, skills, and abilities and all this stuff published out on the DOL website or even on our website is good. Where's the beef? And so that's the next step that we've taken, our people, our research, our center, is we've tried to take the KSAs, which are, again, nationally vetted over a period of time, and try to turn that into curriculum. And we've done that through, I think, a very innovative process, which is collaborative. So what we've done is we've impounded over the last 12 months, we've been holding a series of essentially curriculum workshops, curriculum development workshops around the country with educators. So now industry has spoken, right? We've done the DOL competency model, we've got the GTCM, we've done the DACMs. So industry has spoken. Now it's time for the educators to have their chance. But we don't want even our esteemed group of 8 to 10 educators to be the final say-so on this. We really want this to be a national model. So now we're going out and getting 50 of what we think are some of the finest educators in our field, GIS educators, from colleges and universities. We have some universities participating in this as well, 4-year schools. and we're bringing them into these intense workshops, again, 2-day intense workshops. We're asking them, given these KSAs and given this DOL model, can you build curriculum for that? And so that's led to essentially what I'm showing up here, which is an industry model gets fed into a DACM, which gets turned into curriculum. And that's a process that we've done here. A lot to read here, and I apologize for that. So what our goal is to build by the end of August 2012 this year is a model certificate. What would be essentially a certificate outline, if you will, and I'll show you that in just a couple of slides, for any school that could adopt this and take that material and build their own curriculum from it. And again, our goals are to be descriptive, not prescriptive. We're trying to say this is what ought to be taught, or this is what industry has said ought to be taught in a certificate. We're not telling you exactly how to do that. We're not developing the course material down to the PowerPoints and all that, not yet. And I'm a little hesitant about how far down that road we go. I've got some courses out there you can see where we've done that, but we think it's better from a national center standpoint to develop an outline and let people actually implement that with their choice of textbooks, and we have recommendations and data sources and all that. The workshops themselves, so we talked about the metadacums. The metadacum itself produced some 660 knowledge, skills, and abilities, 660 KSAs. There's no way, even in a 7-course certificate, you're going to have time to teach all that. So what we've done is through these educators, we try to say exactly what we can scope out and put into this certificate. The challenge was to carve out truly essential KSAs, come to agreement on that from educators, and we think we've accomplished that. Use subject matter-led workshops of groups of no more than 20 educators. We do a lot of preparation up front. It takes 3 months in webinars to prepare for the 2-day workshop. We do the 2-day workshop. We follow up with 3 more months of follow-up and surveys and SurveyMonkey and a lot of communication back and forth. So at the end of it, they've spent literally 6 months developing this curriculum. If they didn't know the Competency model when they went into this, they sure as hell know the Competency model when they come out. The stuff that you just went through in about 15 minutes, they live with for 6 months. So not only are we extracting from them what they think the Competency model should be when it's implemented, but we're also training faculty out there about the Competency model, because this is all new for our field. 50% of participants, so as we hold these workshops, 50% of the participants are repeats for consistency. So we held our first workshop back in June. And the next one we held in July. We brought 50% of those people back to help the new 50%. And so over the period, we've had literally 50 people over these 3 workshops across the country trained out. The post-workshop survey and vetting refined the SME results for consensus. And the results, we think, truly represent the collaborative interpretation of the GTCM. So refining the process, this is sort of a graphic of what happened. We started with the GTCM, which was 12 subject matter experts, broad in scope, very shallow in depth. You could not build a curriculum from it. It only went through tier 5, right? There's 8, 9 tiers in the GTCM. Then we had 6 to 12 SMEs develop a DACM over multiple locations over time, which is narrow in scope, but much more detailed in depth, right? Remember I told you it produced some 660 KSAs? Now we've taken those and tried to combine those into a metadacum, which is very broad and very deep of essential knowledge, skills, and abilities. This is what resulted from all that. This is a fairly complex Excel spreadsheet which has all the possible knowledge, skills, and abilities that these technicians are supposed to know. We rate them basically from 0 to 4. 0, no knowledge, not going to be covered at all, of course, to 4 should be covered at expert level. And we have assessment tools where essentially faculty can download this Excel spreadsheet, look at what the KSA is that should be taught, and honestly evaluate and say, yeah, I'm teaching this. And to what level, essentially? What degree are you teaching that? And so what this is going to allow us to do is to have the faculty reflect upon what the industry said should be taught and what they're actually teaching in their classroom. And so what we're trying to do, if you will, is we're trying to gently nudge faculty to change their curriculum to reflect what? Industry. What the SMEs in the industry have told us our graduates should know. So, boy, that's really dark. So this is a snapshot. in a dark room just like this at a hotel back in Denver where we had our last workshop. That's Amy Work from Central New Mexico in Albuquerque. She's a facilitator, basically. She's a full-time department chair and a semi-dean of her GIS program there in Central New Mexico. There's a panel of 20 GIS faculty around there, and they're going through this process of creating the curriculum. I think she's doing the 3rd or 4th course there. And so the point I'm trying to make here is it's a collaborative process. The GeoTech Center, even our 8 subject matter experts that work for me directly, we're not dictating down to the other 650 GIS instructors out there, thou shalt teach this. We're saying this is what DOL and experts have told us we should be taught. How is the best way to implement this into curriculum? And it uses a consensus building process. So it's collaborative, it's consensus oriented, and it's, again, descriptive, not prescriptive. So what's resulted? A nationally vetted curriculum based on industry standards. These things are refined for regional input. It uses a federal model, and it provides a foundation, if you will, for curriculum for a technical field. So that's the overall process. You still with me? All right. What I'd like to do now is just show you what we built off of that and what GIS instructors can download right now from our website. So we created what we call model course packs. And in the model course pack, we're going to have a syllabus, textbook recommendation, a series of KSAs, knowledge, skills, abilities, student learning outcomes, because you know how colleges love SLOs. They don't want to look at a detailed syllabus, right, with all the stuff. They just want the SLOs that are supposed to be taught. So we provide all of that in sort of a model pack that can be downloaded in a SCORM compliant. Everybody knows what SCORM is, right? It's just something that you can download and import into Blackboard or Moodle. Ours happens to be in Moodle. Unzip it into that course management system, tweak it a little bit, and now you have at least an outline, and you can fill in all the details for yourself, including evaluation rubrics and a model course spreadsheet. So this is an example of what one of the syllabuses look like if you're to go out to our Moodle server. This is an example of an assessment. And so what we have right here is this is the entire certificate. And I believe this was an example from Gainesville State, which has been one of our lead colleges. It's a 2-year school right outside Atlanta, Gainesville, Georgia. And what they did was they assessed their program looking at all their courses with what we said should be taught. And so the ideal being is that over a period of a year or 2 years for an associate's degree or for a certificate, somewhere in there the student should be learning as much as they can, as much has been defined for that GTCM, right? And so you're not going to teach everything in one course, you just can't. And you don't want, some things you want to repeat, but you don't want to beat it to death, and some things you don't want to miss. The KSAs, right, the essential knowledge, skills, and abilities, you need to cover it somewhere in your curriculum. So what we've done is we said these are the KSAs that industry, DOL, has said that need to be covered somewhere in the curriculum. And what they do is they do a self-assessment course by course by course to make sure that all the gaps are covered somewhere and to some extent. And so this provides them with a snapshot of where their curriculum is now, and they can know if they're going to do adjustments on an annual basis, what it is they need to change. So I think that's valuable. I think you would agree. So here's an example of, this is a first course, Introduction to Geospatial Technology. This is just a snapshot. The description, prerequisites, the type of computer requirement. So this is just the top of the header of the syllabus, if you will. Here's a list of 6 student learning outcomes. Again, these were built through what? Collaboration and consensus, but they weren't dreamed up by academics. They reflect what industry told us we needed. Here's some of the units. So for this particular course, I think he had 9 units. These are the major categories that link back to the GTCM. This is where the SLOs are covered to match that up. This is an example evaluation rubric. So if you had to go to your dean and say, or if your accreditation body comes in and says, well, how are you evaluating those SLOs? Well, here's how I'm evaluated. Here's a description. Here's the level. You know, is it unsatisfactory, poor, adequate, very well, or outstanding? And there's the description for how you actually evaluated that. So what we've done is we turned model into material. We've turned a competency model provided for us by the DOL at the federal level into actual curriculum that a community college at some particular school could use. So the results of the workshop have resulted in an outline for a model certificate, and call it a transfer certificate or whatever you want to. It's not really an AAS, it's just 7 courses we said should be in there. Model course pack for 4 courses we got complete, 3 more we're working on. A Moodle server for dissemination, self-assessment tools for the GIS courses themselves, self-assessment tools for educators, students, and graduates, which I think is valuable. Wouldn't you like to know if what your students, you think what they learned is what they actually need to know for the industry? And we think it's going to be the basis for professional certification through an independent professional organization. I think you've heard a lot of debate. I just came from one where they're talking about the Western Governors University and how accreditation is done in IT and all this kind of stuff. Currently in our field in GIS, professional certification, the most recognized one is called the GISP, GIS Professional. That was created by URISA, which is a 50-year-old professional organization, Urban and Resource Information Systems Association. And URISA created this thing about, not quite 10 years ago, say 5 years ago, the GISP. And so it's an independent, non-for-profit organization that assesses professionals. But it's all portfolio based. There's no tests in there whatsoever for competencies. It's you tell us what you've done, and a panel of experts sit down and they evaluate, you know, your education component, your professional service component, your da-da-da component, and then they add up the points, and you know, if you meet certain magic level, you're a GISP. Does that really prove you know how to do GIS on the software side, or that, you know, given a tough analytical problem, you can create a solution to that? I don't know. So what the GIS-CI, GIS Certification Institute, who does the GISP certification, what they have sought is something to base a test on. And that's a big controversy itself, the fact that we even proposed a test. Well, guess what they want to base the test on now? The work that we've been doing for the GTCM. Why? It's federally recognized. It's been vetted widely, but they're not taking our word for it. And so the GIS-CI, our members work with them on this certification. They're giving themselves 4 years to build a test. 4 years. We've already got 200 questions out there ready for our students right now that we think would be equivalent to anything the GIS-CI will produce eventually. But they have to make sure that it's widely accepted, right? So they're hiring a professional evaluation metrics company to build them a truly independent test, but it will be based off the GTCM and the DACMs and stuff that we provided. So what we're trying to do is, again, we're trying to get alignment with professions, with industry, and what the feds are saying our students should need. So where to find our material? If you go out to our website, geotechcenter.org, and if you were to click on our homepage, you see it says GTCM Model Courses. You would go here and you could access the Moodle server directly and look at it as a guest. You can look at most material. You can't download the material because, like any NSF grant, we need to assess and evaluate what we're doing. So we do ask for a free registration so we know how to get a hold of you to do an assessment or a survey. And so you would just fill out basic information there, name, email address, and how to contact you. Then you would go to the Moodle server. At the Moodle server here, and that's a different website, you could click on any of the links, and again, there is guest access to look at all this from the outline view. But if you actually, and you would see this even with just guest access if you didn't even register, but if you actually want to get the material, which is the syllabus, the Excel spreadsheets and stuff I'm showing you, it does require a login, but again, that's free. And so you would click on that and you could download it directly. And if you were to download that, this is essentially what you would see would be a Word document that had the stuff. And there was some debate among my co-PIs, among my experts, if we were to provide it as a PDF or as a Word document. My thought was we wanted to control the quality of this, so we were going to do it as PDFs. Boy, I got shot down on that real quick. They said, no, remember we were going to do this as descriptive, not prescriptive? Give them the Word document. Give them the PowerPoint. Let them modify it. So we're not trying to dictate to any educator out there what should be taught in their curriculum or their classroom. We're just saying, here's what we think industry, this is the closest thing, the latest thing to what industry has said we should use, and here it is. Use it to whatever extent that you would like to. Now, if I've got a few minutes, part of those 50 participants, so we've done all this material, what impact has it had? Who really cares? I've gotten a good 50 minutes of your time, right, talking about it? But beyond that, has anybody used it? I can proudly say yes, several people have told me they've used it. Here's one example, Mark Gieslow from Lakeland College up in Ohio. They've got kind of they had a small GIS program. I think it was 2 courses that was sort of rocking along. They were having a really hard time getting students to enroll in it, to get other teachers to really get engaged and send majors their way and stuff. And so Mark found out about the GTCM, found out about the workshops, jumped into it feet first, and essentially what he's done is taken our work and built an entire associate's program at his college in the last year on that. And he's really one of our go-to guys. So he's used the GTCM to jumpstart his curriculum. He went from one low enrollment course to a program within, like I said, 14 months. As of spring 2010, uncertainties from student demand, job market, which skills should be taught. So, you know, there was some real question in his mind and the student's mind and the other faculty minds, you know, is what we were doing correct. And so essentially what he's done here is he's been able to take the GTCM and our course material and build a program from the ground up on that. And of course he's done local DACMs, local surveys for industry need here in northern Ohio. Strategic positioning, now he's able to actually go out and recruit industry experts, industry panels, because he can say, look, we've got something that's been done nationally. We have a nationally approved curriculum. Are you interested in participating in this? Would you hire our graduates, knowing that they have gone through a vetted process? And it's made all the difference in the world in terms of his academic success. Also, students ask, is it a good ideal, but are there really jobs here? And of course, we have DOL statistics to show, yeah, there are jobs, not just nationwide, but in your area. You can call all that off the ETA website. And so it's helped his program. Basically, he said, so example, GTCM was brand new. The frustration that they had before was a lack of skill-specific training, poor workplace and academic skills. These are what employers were saying, you know, that's why they weren't hiring people, basically. With leaders on campus, once he brought them in, talked to his dean, his vice president, his provost, and showed them what he was doing, what the GTCM could do, then the outcomes of this was the advisory board meeting was getting results. They adopted the GTCM. Results went out for comment, and basically they incorporated this material into the courses. And so the program outcomes now, it uses core geospatial knowledge effectively. It applies geospatial knowledge tools for his projects, uses spatial databases in an effective manner, demonstrate critical thinking. So these are all SLOs that he's developed for his technicians from his program. It has given him basically GTCM-driven curriculum. So this is what the GTCM said. These are the certificate courses that we said. These are the courses that he implemented. So again, this is where you see a little customization at local level. And the assessment tools have allowed him to do alignment, look at basically do a gap analysis. What is it we teach in our curriculum? What are we missing? What do we need to put in there? Thank you. Also, it's been wonderful to go out and get grants. Now that he's gone through the process, he can show the GTCM good seal of approval on his certificate, on his degree program. All of a sudden, people are interested in partnering with him, and they've been able to get pretty substantial grants for developing their technology program, which, as you can imagine, is expensive in terms of software and hardware. So it's really helped him with the Department of Labor and Dominion Foundation. So here's my contact information if you want any further information. I know there's not GIS people per se in this room, but I would tell you as an IT educator, you ought to look into this. You ought to also know that on the Department of Labor website, there is an IT approved curriculum. It's out there. And it was done with a foundation that includes major corporations. I think Microsoft, Oracle, Google, and them participated in that. So there is an industry model out there for IT. I don't know what's been done with it at the academic, if they've done any, you know, things that we've done in terms of trying to do DACMs and all that. But this is, I just wanted to show you the model that we use for our industry and our field. So without further ado, if there's any questions or comments, we would entertain those now. Anybody?
I came a little bit late. Do you have any people who are interested in applying this to other course material other than GIS? Anybody trying?
One of the courses that we created, the very first course we created, was what we call an exploratory course, an introductory course. It's a spatial awareness. It's actually out on our Moodle server, and it's not aligned to the GTCM directly. As a matter of fact, it's not industry or vendor specific. It uses Google Earth, which is sort of open source. And what the goal with that course and where it's been real successful is as a general education course. Actually, it was created at Southwestern Community College in San Diego. It directly articulates to San Diego State University, not as a, it can articulate right over there and satisfy their general education requirement for quantitative, what was it, analytics, I believe, sort of a math, spatial reasoning type course. So yeah, there are other departments, geography, and we're trying to get GIS. We think it's relevant across a wide domain of disciplines.
You mentioned remote sensing. Could you elaborate a little more on that? What
Yeah,
is that?
we are currently going through this exact same process for remote sensing. If you went back to the GTCM and looked at that, and I think I can break out of here and maybe go to the Department of Labor's website. If you were to look at the sectors, remote sensing is considered one of the sectors, which is data acquisition and sensor. And we're going through the process right now where we've done 2 DACMs, we're getting ready to do a 3rd DACM. We're getting ready to join the USGIF, United States Geospatial Intelligence Foundation. We're going to become a member of that organization. And so we're creating a remote sensing technician curriculum based upon the work that we've done on that. So that will be an additional course. Anyone else?
Are your slides available?
Pardon me?
Are your slides available?
Yes, I will, and I'm not sure if NPIC has got a website, but you've got my email. I will post these out on the GeoTech website, and if you will just email me, I can send you a direct link, and I'm pretty sure these are going to be available probably somewhere on NPIC. I'll give the raw PowerPoints to them. Anyway, if you were to go out to our website and click on that, the GTCM icon, it goes straight to the DOL website. So this is Career One Stop, which is run by the ETA. And you can actually mouse over and look at any one of these tiers, and I can click on it, and you can see these are what they say in the KSAs are. Not enough detail there, folks, to develop curriculum. It's a good basis, but it's not enough to develop curriculum. So that's sort of the value that we add to it, if you will. You were asking about remote sensing. That would be up here in one of the 3 fields. If I go up into the upper tiers, 6 and above, it actually goes into the Department of Labor's standard occupation codes. And so for the geospatial industry, these are the jobs, these are the job codes that are currently defined out there. And so one of them is remote sensing technician. And so if I were to click on that, you can actually see the details out there. What's interesting, if you read the fine print, it'll tell you this job description is under review. It's under research. They're waiting on us. Because they're industry analysts, their experts know that they don't know enough about the industry, because they're essentially bureaucrats that sit in DC and do research on the internet. They're industry analysts. But they don't have enough detail out there to actually put a detailed description of what the knowledge, skills, and abilities are. We're going to provide that for them here by August. Yes, sir.
There's a large center, research center that we have at City College of City University of New York, in New York City, that works on remote sensing. And we at another college of the CUNY, we are offering 3 courses in remote sensing.
There's
So,
lots of people offering
right.
courses in remote sensing. As a field, as an occupation, it's an emerging occupation. DOL is saying at this point, we don't know exactly what the entire body of knowledge for that particular occupation is, and that's what we're trying to help them
It's kind of rather strange, because I did my PhD in '82 in remote sensing, and
It's different.
30 years later, they still don't know.
Yeah. The science is the same. The sensors and how they're doing it is different. Okay. Yes, sir.
Of the 660 KSAs you identified, how many did you determine were core, or were the?
I think we got it down to 440. And so out of that 440, those are spread across 7 programs, 7 courses, if you will, which is pretty good. I mean, it started out, this whole thing started out a decade ago with something called the UCGIS, University Consortium of Geographic Information Systems, body of knowledge. Every field has a body of knowledge, right? Medicine has one. IT has a body of knowledge that IEEE defines. About a decade ago, UCGIS, which are these 4-year universities, sat down and they created a body of knowledge. It was primarily academics that created it, which is why it was never widely recognized by industry. It is 1,660 KSAs, totally unusable. Matter of fact, the gentleman who helped create GTCM and one of our former researchers, David DiBiase, who now works for ESRI, was one of the 3 people that helped create the body of knowledge. So he's been involved from way back. And even he says it's way too broad. It's a great encyclopedia, and it is everything that you could ever know, but it's nothing that you could turn into curriculum. And so the GTCM helps refine that, gets it a little more focused, if you will, and now the metadacums have defined that even more. So it's still, and I will tell you, it's still a bit overwhelming, even when in trying to debate which of those 660 stay and which go and which ones are sort of in between. That's where all the gnashing of teeth have occurred, and that's what we provided. 2 minutes.
Actually, I have one more if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You mentioned the things that were on Moodle. Could you go over again how to get to them?
Sure. Just go to, if you go to our website and you see where it says model courses, just click on that,
Got it.
and that'll bring up a page right there with a hyperlink to the Moodle server. Okay, so it's 2 clicks. Or you can just type in moodle.delmar.edu. But I just want you to remember GeoTech because that's a better one. And then when I go here, I can click on any one of the courses. I can log in as guest. And as you can see here, you can directly access all the KSAs and the stuff material. Now, when you go to try to download the detailed syllabus, it'll tell you you have to log in. So back on the GTCM, or pardon me, back on this page, you can actually apply right here for a model request, and within 24 hours, we'll send you a user ID and password. Then you get access to everything. So I think we're out of time. One more question, anybody? Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, everybody.